And we are live. Welcome back to the Signal 50 podcast with your hosts Alpha and Bravo. How are you this fine, moist evening?
Yeah, moist and frozen because it's snowing. Let it snow. Here it comes.
Yeah, we got about 5 inches of wet, heavy snow here where I live in the National Capital Region, the NCR. Wet and heavy, nasty, long day. Sitting in the office, looking out the window, watching it snow, going, oh, crap, the ride home's going to suck. It just turned out to be wet. The roads were just wet. Some of the side streets were a little greasy, but I don't think you're going to be so lucky. I think you're going to get clobbered.
Well, we live a little farther north than you do in the I'm going to call it the Evil Empire, and it's cold, like 18 outside. I think the last time I checked. And it's common. I guess they're forecasting a foot to 18 inches or something like that.
So. Well, better you than me. Enjoy that. Well, welcome everybody to the Signal 50 podcast. We're glad to have you along on a Wednesday night. We wanted to get a show out tonight. Some of the feedback we're getting from some of our listeners, and thank you very much for your feedback. Has been, hey, listen, I don't watch the news anymore. I can't stand it. I listen to podcasts. I listen to your podcast. I really enjoy it, which is, very flattering. Appreciate that. You all know who you are out there. There were several people that reached out to me and asked us to do a show kind of midweek, to break up the monotony a little bit, get a little bit more content out there and talk a little bit about the current events. And oh boy, is there a lot to talk about. What do you think?
Yeah, we talk about the current events, and it's great to hear people want to hear us. We're two average Americans, and we're patriots, and we are bringing you the latest current events from our vantage points as the average American like you. And we do this, unfortunately, we have to do it from the anonymity without showing our faces or telling you our names, because we work in places where we would get canceled, fired, and lose everything because they'd come after us. So I call it deep in blue territory, behind the lines.
Yes, behind the granola curtain. But let's dispense with all that. Yep, we want to bring you what we see going on from our point of view, which is what we would think would be probably our listeners' point of view as well. We're just two regular dudes who went out and spent way too much money on broadcast equipment. Now we have a podcast. So there you go.
But it has been going since September.
That's right.
We are on our 22nd show, and we are on Rumble, and we are on Parler. And we said to Zuck goodbye, and Twitter, yes, no thanks. And we use YouTube because they're the only ones that can live stream at this moment, hoping that it changes sometime soon.
Right. And, and that brings me to a point. Generally speaking, Bravo and I have a little powwow before we go ahead and have a show. But, that brings me to something that I really want to talk about. And what I really want to talk about first up, we're going to get into some hard news, what's going on. We've got a little bit of time here as kind of a filler. I just want to talk a little bit about social media and how just how horrible it really is. I bailed off of Facebook and most of the social media platforms a year ago last August.
How's it feel?
Liberating.
Mm-hmm.
People say, well, did you see on Facebook? I said, nope. Not at all. Well, you can see my pictures on. Nope, can't. Well, if you want to send me a picture, like text me or something. Give me a phone call.
Mm-hmm.
Let's get away from this whole social media thing. I think it's really not a good thing.
And that includes Instagram and Snapchat and what other dumb things are out there. Twitter is more of a, it's just a dumpster fire.
It's just a dumpster fire. It's just bad, and people just behave badly. I use Twitter as a news aggregator. I don't even tweet on it. Like if something happens from one of the outlets that I do follow, like the Epoch Times, or I was following The Hill, and I'm not following them anymore. The Washington Examiner, I do follow them, and there's a couple things like National Weather Service, a couple of the local fire departments in the county. I follow them because it's good to keep up that way. I mean, it works. It's kind of like the old pager system, right?
Mm-hmm.
Something comes across an alert, boom, you got it. All right, something you need to know. You can choose what you need to know. Other than the things I need to know, I don't go out there looking for trouble.
You know what though, Alpha? I think it's important though. I was the same way. I actually when Zuck there decided to start censoring and taking tweets down, Facebook posts down, and limiting what you can do, but selling our information. I dumped Facebook also, and I have a lot of family members that were upset because I couldn't see their. I said, did the same thing you did, Alpha. Just send me a picture, say hello, give me a phone call. That's fine. But I'm not on Facebook anymore. I don't want it. I don't want any part of it.
No.
However, I am. It's interesting. Parler, however, and Dan Bongino, credit to him. He I started back in March of 2020. Been a member of Parler. I now have 520 followers. And they follow the show. We have our show page is also on Parler. There's no restrictions. I don't have to worry about my data being sold. I'm not seeing ads pop up every 5 seconds. It's a great media, and there's a lot of people there that have similar, and people that don't have similar thoughts. You can kind of pick out who the trolls are, but there's a lot of people there that are getting the information out there. We're seeing things that you can never find on Facebook, especially when Facebook was throttling posts and things like that. So that, and we're not surprised. We're staring at zero right now. They're Alpha with no one on the video podcast with us.
But that's okay because we'll put it out on Rumble. We'll use this, and we'll take advantage of Google's capabilities, and we'll go ahead and aggregate the video, and we'll go put it somewhere else.
Right, which is Rumble. Absolutely. And Rumble, we now have 370 some odd followers.
And thank you very much, everybody, for trusting us with your hour or maybe 2 a week, and I really appreciate that. That's great.
We do.
There's something important I want to point out about social media, and something that people really forget. It's free to sign up, right?
Sure.
Guess what the product is? You.
That's correct.
You are the product. Your information, your habits, your browsing habits, your targeted advertisements, you are being marketed to. And they're selling your information to the highest bidder that sell products and target market to you. And they use your information for demographic study and all sorts of different things. They can track where you are, who you talk to, who you interact with. It is an incredible data collection tool that was invented, or it has become an incredible data collection tool. Everywhere you go, everything you shop for, everything you look at on your phone, everybody you talk to, everybody you interact with, every picture you put in just adds to the data and adds to the data. It's just an amazing thing.
It's interesting, Alpha, you bring all that up. What do they do with all that data? What do they, they know what store you go to, they know where you drove, they know how fast you got there, they know what you're searching. All this stuff is being tabulated. And what ends up happening is people like Zuck, who I'm going to call him from now on, he has the money and he has that arrogance. He's an arrogant person, this Zuck. And what happens is he has all this money and he starts playing God with a little g, where he takes that money, he starts putting it into people that he feels follows his narrative. Remember, he has all this power. He has all this power. This article in the National Pulse by Natalie Winters, it was actually done the 16th of December, which is today, talks about how he spent $500 million to coerce states to adopt a pro-Democrat turnout measure. Now, this was brought by the Amistad Project, the former attorney general from Kansas, went through this whole thing. They followed the money, and that's that seems to be the best way to find out what they did. And basically, what they did was they leveraged $500 million in funding for dark money apparatus, 10 nonprofits, giving them the keys of the kingdom when it comes to voting, and they went out and he basically pushed the election to the direction he wanted. So what happens when he has all that data and all that money? This is what happens. It's disgusting.
You have to think that a $500 million investment in that kind of data collection and dealing that kind of data around into political campaigns is worth far more than a $500 million in cold cash.
Mm-hmm.
What's it worth? A hell of a
Influence.
lot more. Influence, power, control. It's really bad. So anyhow, guys and gals out there in the audience, I would highly encourage you to reconsider your life choices in social media.
And again, yeah, I mean, it's actually, you're not checking Facebook all the time and they're not following you, but there is a way to do it without. Now, just kind of going off into another direction here about news media and that whole idea of controlling the narrative, which if you're not familiar, I'm sure everyone is, but when you hear about narrative, you're talking about a certain point of view or a certain idea that gets pushed out there, repeated. And what ends up happening is you tell a lie enough, it becomes the truth. And that's what we're seeing right now. So depending on what media sources you follow, depending on where you get your news from, you can be informed and you can think for yourself. And I am a firm believer that we need to be able to think for ourselves and find out the information. And what the media is failing at miserably, and we all know this. You're all out there. You all know this. The media is not providing the information. They're telling us a story, not the story. And here is an example. Breitbart, one of my favorite sources to go to, do some great reporting. They're now. I had this question from last show on Sunday, Alpha. What's going on with who? Why is this all happening? And how in God's green earth can we have all these people in power who swear to the on the Bible to uphold the Constitution against enemies, foreign and domestic, and to uphold these constitutions not only from the country of the U.S. but also their state that they live in? What would cause them to turn around and say, "Nah, I'm gonna forego that oath I took and throw it in the toilet"? Well, here it is. It's China.
It's all about money.
Money. They are funneling money and influence like it's going out of style, and this is their playbook. And I urge you all to go to Breitbart News. Have them as a tab stop for your news in the morning or in the afternoon. And this national intelligence report that's supposed to be coming out, the deep state is pushing this narrative. They don't want this out there because they're also a source of this. The deep state wants their own agenda. They want control. They want power. What does everyone want? Power. What does it do? Corrupt. And here you go. They're trying to subdue this. Now we all know President Trump is not oblivious to the fact that China had their hands all over this, and I don't think he would even accept it, even if Radcliffe was dumb enough to not include this. So, in fact, the president may have to take a couple of days and go to those people and put them in his office and say, "You want to tell me again why China is not part of this report or why you're trying to subdue it?" And then sick a U.S. attorney on him and arrest him for treason. I mean, here we go. President Trump doesn't have anything to lose anymore.
You're exactly right. And here's the thing that everybody seems to forget. They can deep six whatever they want, and they can try to cover up their dirt all they want. Donald Trump has got the means and the methodology where he can just go ahead and drop a tactical nuke right in the middle of the whole thing and assign special counsels. He could have the justice. All right, now that leads us to another topic.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, we'll talk about Bill Barr in just a minute. All right. Mm-hmm. Everybody seems to forget as long as a special counsel was, investigating a Republican, it was like, oh, you can't fire the special counsel. That would be obstruction of justice. Well, now the worm has turned, my friends. Wait until you see how many special counsels get appointed in the next month. You've got Durham out there. No, everybody seems to think that Durham isn't doing anything. And I got news for you. I don't think that's the case.
Mm-hmm.
I think that there's some serious shit going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
I'm holding out hope. I'm hopeful. We all know that there was a whole lot of misdeeds that went down in the past, several years. We all know it. Number one. Number two, Barr, before he left the door, he gave Durham 4 years as a special counsel. That man, and broaden the scope, that man can do a hell of a lot of damage in 4 years, right? Now, imagine how many more special counsels could come before the end of Trump's term. How many?
Oh, at least 2.
At least 2. I would say if there are 3 special counsel investigations going on within the government right now, or after the inauguration, I think some serious business is going to happen.
So the question then I have is for you, Alpha. Is Bill Barr, was he part of the deep state, or did he do his job like a stealth bomber, as X-22 report kind of talked about yesterday in his report, which I would strongly recommend people listen to. He's on top of everything. He's got some incredible sources, but I think he did his job and he did it well. I don't know if he's. I mean, I don't know.
Well, I don't know either. You're asking me what I think, and here's what I think. I think Bill Barr is a good guy, and I think Bill Barr is probably up against a machine that you and I and everybody else listening can't comprehend. I think the man did a lot of damage to the machine and to the globalists. I really do believe that. Did he quit or did he get fired? I think I don't know. I think he quit. I think he quit. I think he said, "Okay, my work here is done, and I just want to go away now." And we don't know what he set up. He's a brilliant guy. I don't know what he set up. At first blush, you'd be like, "Oh, that son of a bitch! He didn't do anything. He's worthless." I hear that all the time. Nobody's in handcuffs or jumpsuits. We don't know. We don't know what Durham's going to do. And that's part of the excitement, isn't it?
I think not only is it excitement, but I think everyone has to understand, at least my understanding of a special counsel, Alpha, is this. They don't hand out reports. They hand out indictments.
Absolutely correct. They don't.
They do not go around broadcasting who they're going to, who they're interviewing, who they're seeing, who they're, you know what? Nuh-uh. Sorry.
No. Grand juries don't just sit there and hear stuff for their health,
And if you look at Mueller, let's look back at Mueller for a second. You can see the difference, what's going to happen between an incompetent special counsel, which Mueller was, and I'm hoping they put Ken Starr on the election fraud special counsel. They're going to need that one for that. They're going to need one for Biden. They're going to need one for. They got one for the Russia hoax, which Durham is running the show on that one. But the minute I think it's about now where you're going to start seeing people getting arrested for that Russia hoax, and the General Flynn hoax also. It's. The election has happened, and I know that was a handcuff for President Trump, in my opinion. He couldn't do. He had to play nice in the sandbox, And what happened was he got stabbed in the back multiple times. He got stabbed in the back by the Senate. He got stabbed in the back by the House. Oh my God, the House did it. And now the courts. They're all turning their back on him. And what's happening is President Trump is now looking around and saying, you screwed me, you screwed me, you screwed me. Now it's my turn.
Well, it's the what's the most dangerous thing in the entire universe? An animal that's cornered, or somebody who has nothing left to lose, right?
Yeah.
So these people better understand that he's a very dangerous man to them, and they're going to go after him when he's out. You know what? Bring it. He doesn't care.
Mm-hmm.
Go after me, like New York State is going after his corporation now. He doesn't care. There's nothing to hide. The man's the most investigated person on the face of the earth. They haven't been able to catch him on anything because he hasn't done anything.
Correct.
All right, so here's the thing. You're exactly right that special counsels don't write reports, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I really need to see people in handcuffs.
Mm-hmm.
It occurs to me that in this country, all of a sudden, you have half of the country, and I feel like we're like little Clark Kents running around, right? Well, we're little Dudley Do-Rights, us Republican people, with our pocket protectors and our glasses, and we follow the rules and we wait for the crosswalks, and we just follow all those rules, and we just want to be free and leave us alone. We'll follow your rules, just kind of leave us alone. And then there's the other side of the country that just keep pushing and pushing and pushing and pushing and pushing.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like we're walking around like a bunch of rubes, like the Democrats are just so much smarter than we are. I don't think that's the case.
Mm-hmm.
I think I think a lot of them are just really horrible people.
Mm-hmm.
They're horrible, power-hungry, totalitarian, communist assholes. And if you don't like what I just said, I don't care. Okay? Show me you're not a totalitarian dickhead.
Mm-hmm.
Look what these governors and municipalities are doing. President Trump did not bring misery to this country from this virus. It was all of the local leadership.
Cuomo,
Whitmer, even a Republican governor, Hogan. What a disgrace that shit is. Newsom. You name it. The county where I live in, we just backed off to. You can't have more than 150 people in a retail establishment, any retail establishment. You can't have indoor dining at all. You can't have outdoor dining at all. You have to only do takeout. You can only do delivery. It just doesn't stop.
No, and it's not going to stop because they want the pain to continue. They need this to control. There's two things that what we're describing right now, in my opinion. Again, we talk about the news. And we talk about our opinion that relates to us being the Americans that are being affected by it, because we are exercising our First Amendment rights. And here's what I'm thinking: as long as the pain continues, they control the narrative. What the virus was, instead of a war, which you really couldn't start a war without literally blowing the place up and not having anything left. But in order to get influence and to control people, this virus was brought upon us. It doesn't have. Again, we went through this in previous shows. It's the death rate is not high at all. It's very contagious, but it doesn't kill people. There's a vaccine coming out, which put a shot in the arm against. You ready for this, Alpha? The central banks. And this great reset and the dark winter that is being talked about by Dunderhead Biden, who believes that it's going to be a dark winter, is 100% President Trump is stopping the deep state from putting it into effect, this great reset, so that it's a globalist community and everyone's controlling you and I and our ability to make decisions that's best for us, and throw away all the protections we have of the Constitution. So that's where this is all coming from.
Oh, completely agree. It's just unbelievable.
And and how do you go about? For our podcast listeners, go and find Ben Garrison's cartoons. This is probably one of the best political cartoons. I love political cartoons since I was a kid. This one it describes how they're getting control, and we're talking about China now. That you make bang bang with Fang Fang and give you money, me love you long time. And they're talking about the Chi-Com, and it shows Fang Fang, who has been pictured with numerous people in power, mayors, congressmen, you name it, and she just manipulates all of them and puts them in a trance, and they're singing. They're all singing.
Well, it's the oldest trick in the book. It's the oldest intelligence gathering and spy trick in the book. It's get a cute young lady to go ahead and play the honeypot.
Mm-hmm.
It's the oldest trick in the book. It's disgusting.
It's an infiltration. It's an invasion, and China wants what we have. They want him under their control. And there's a lot of people that are under their control with a lot of extortion, and anyone who's in power is afraid of losing power. And look at the courts. There are pictures of again. There's all kinds of things out there. I can't confirm the sources, so I won't go in there. But you don't think that the decisions that when you sit there as myself and I hear a decision made by John Roberts about making the Affordable Care Act, it's not a penalty, it's a tax, when we were told it wasn't a tax in the first place. And you stop and you say, wait a minute, there's a penalty, but now it's not a penalty, but it's a tax, it's not a tax. What is it? What is it? What are we supposed to believe? And that to me is someone's got something over him. He's making stupid decisions that would otherwise get you tossed out on your rear end if you're in the business that I'm in, and making decisions like that affecting people's lives. You would lose your license, you'd get thrown out and sued at the same time. They're in positions of power. They don't have to worry about losing it because they're in there for life.
Right.
And senators and congressmen, all they care about is getting reelected or keeping that power because it makes them feel better, because inside they have no principles, and they're small-minded people, weak-minded people that have nothing but what makes, everyone calling him senator and fawning over him. You think this Fang Fang, as beautiful as she was, came up to someone with a low self-esteem? She can manipulate that person to the end of the day and get anything out of them they want it, and the complete obedience. And that's what happened.
It's the oldest profession in the world, my friend. It's the oldest profession in the world, and I hate to say it. It just is what it is. Listen, look, everybody's in the business of manipulating everybody, and I found this example, and this just makes me sick. I'm going to share something with everybody here too. Out of all due respect for the dearly departed here, Willis Diefendorf. He's a gentleman who was a businessman in upstate New York, and he died of COVID. I'm going to share a headline with everybody, and I want you to look at this, and I want you to think very critically about this. Can you see that?
Well, why don't you read it for our podcasters?
Today's obituary: Willis Diefendorf, businessman who loved the water, skiing, dies of COVID and kidney disease. Okay. Anyhow, enough said. Yeah, there it is. Did he die of COVID or did he die of kidney disease? I think he died of kidney disease, don't you?
I agree.
Yep. See you later.
I
Sorry,
agree,
Willis.
Alpha.
Sorry, Willis.
COVID.
You were 88 years old and you died of kidney disease, not COVID. See ya. Sorry.
I want to share a story with everyone that's out there listening. And not, I was on an event the other day. A lot of you know that we are involved in a couple different things and how what we talk about. You can kind of hear where we're coming from. So I was on a call the other day, terrible accident, and a driver lost control of a big rig they were driving and wound up losing control and suddenly losing his life. I won't go into too much detail, but it was a pretty nasty accident. And at the time, it was a long investigation, and he was pronounced at the scene. Right, it was instantaneous. He didn't suffer. The problem that I had was after myself and the people I work with got him out of this twisted pile of metal that rested up against a tree. The last thing they did before they took him, we always treat them with respect. They took a COVID test. I said to myself, and that is important because why? And I still haven't seen they haven't come out with the report yet. If I see that he died of a COVID death, that's not a COVID death. Right. It's sudden deceleration syndrome that killed him.
Deceleration trauma, as we like to call it. Okay, everybody, you've guessed it. We're all firemen. You've guessed it. That's it. It's secret's out. Bravo.
Yeah. That, among other things that we've done.
Secret's out. Anywho, yeah, we've seen it all. Mm-hmm. We've seen human beings at their finest and at their worst. Generally speaking, people are horrible. Most of the time, people are just horrible to one another. Once in a while, when you find that little ray of sunshine out there and that little ray of hope when somebody does the right thing, it's really a pleasant surprise. So we look for the bright side of everything. But look. Back to Swalwell and his girlfriend, Fang Fang. Does anybody see a problem here? Dianne Feinstein's got a little Chinese spy problem, too. Swalwell's got a Chinese spy problem.
They're everywhere.
Schiff's got a problem. They've all got problems. It's really interesting, isn't it?
And there's the reason why you have people turning the other way, not doing their job. If I hear another, it's fake. The fraud is not real, and calling all of us nuts and crazy. I got to tell you that there's a big issue out there, isn't there?
I have a bigger issue. I have a very large issue. Does anybody know how a security clearance works?
I've gone through a couple of them.
Yeah. Anyhow, okay. Let's wrap it up in a nutshell for the listeners out there. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
When you have a security clearance, there are several different levels of security clearance. There's, confidential level. There's, public trust, confidential. Secret, top secret, special compartmentalized information, TSSCI with poly, and then there's levels above that are way beyond my comprehension. Okay, these Congress people, my understanding is they're all at the top secret level. They get a clearance at the top secret level, right? And as part of that, you are continually background investigated. And when you meet with a foreign national, you have to declare who that person is to DSS. And DSS will do a background investigation on the foreign national that you interact with, whatever. And you have to disclose your interactions with foreign nationals. And in my line of work, I bump into foreign nationals all the time. So it's a real pain in the ass for me. Okay. And once in a while, they give you a call and they say, hey, what'd you guys talk about? Right? You get where I'm headed?
So would someone that supposedly claims that they won a very high office that needs, I don't know, I'm not even sure what the level of clearance is for a president, super duper top secret, whatever.
Yeah, way far beyond the level of comprehension that you and I have.
Yeah, you have to go through that clearance also, and they're just going to give it to them. He can't even remember. I mean, he did spill the beans that this was going to be the highest. They have the best fraud operation going before the election happened. Yeah, and no one picked that up. Well, I mean, you and I picked it up, but did anyone else pick it up? No.
Well, that's not even it. I'm talking about, look, you got Swalwell. We'll call him Smallpecker. He goes and he meets this little Chinese chickie.
Mm-hmm.
And on your standard form 88, you've got to list all the foreign nationals you have come into contact with. Full stop. Who didn't investigate? Who let it slide? A Chinese intelligence agent's going to stick out like a chancre sore.
Mm-hmm.
Okay?
Mm-hmm.
So you know what? I've got news for you. There's a whole lot of dropping the ball going on in Washington, D.C., playing fast and loose with our national security interests. And that really is quite bothersome, don't you think?
Yep. Yes, it is.
So I think it goes way beyond what we can see, and it's really quite disgusting. And enough is enough. So anyhow, what do we want to talk about next? There's so much going on.
Yeah, I wanted to kind of continue down the road of what happens when people call you a fraud or calls you crazy or a conspiracy theorist, or what are you going to do when you have no proof. Oh, you're talking nonsense. Trump's the bad guy. He's not giving it up. Well, let me give you some. We want to bring something here that you can utilize to if you can get them to sit down and watch it. Now this is on the Epoch Times, again, the official go-to source for the Signal 50 podcast, and this is a 90 minutes of your time. I would strongly recommend you watch it. It's basically the Joshua Phillip is the reporter that's in it, and does a wonderful job, and it's very well done. And all the little pieces of the information that when it first in the election and you first heard the inkling of something was stolen or this was rigged, and people are saying, no, there's no proof. He took every little piece and puts it all together. And Who's Stealing America is a must watch. It's found on the Epoch Times. There'll be a link in our show notes available for you to watch. As the snow's falling, this is a great thing to watch and get it's amazing. Absolutely amazing.
And one more thing. Dr. Shiva won his court case.
Did he really?
He did.
I didn't hear that. That is awesome.
I heard that about, I was this many days old when I learned it. He won here a little while ago, and they're going to hear it. It's moving forward. So,
is that something they can use against what's going on now?
Yeah, absolutely.
Really?
Yes, it's got a lot to do with the Dominion voting system and a bunch of other
things.
Yeah, so, You
mean the Supreme Court's taking it?
I'm not sure the Supreme Court's taking it. The Massachusetts, higher courts in Massachusetts are hearing it.
Oh, my goodness gracious.
How about that?
Wow. If they can... Oh, Warren is in big trouble.
Oh, she could be. She could be in very large trouble. Elizabeth Warren, she's... long story short, I had opportunity to sit in a room with her once.
Mm-hmm. Once, huh? Was that too many?
She makes my skin crawl.
She's
so horrible.
And there's someone, and you want to talk about this?
She's an actress.
Yeah,
okay? When she's in front of the camera, she's one person. When she's in a room talking business, she's a completely different person. She's very much a chameleon.
Wow, what a snake!
She is a snake.
chameleon, or whatever you want to call her. Makes my skin crawl.
I know. It was terrible. I had all I could do to control myself.
So
it was pretty bad.
We did talk about Dr. Shiva the last time. That's amazing. He won his case. Good for him. I hope it it brings to light this disgusting system of this so-called voting system. for anyone to have the ability to change votes, and also in that discussion, and Dr. Shi was talking about your vote gets knocked down to 1/5 or 3/5 or something. It just makes me angry. And if you think about back in the 1800s when blacks, and slaves, they were counted as 3/5 and not as a whole person. And I mean, you want to talk about institutional racism? That's institutional racism. There are policies in place to discriminate against someone because of the color of their skin. That's the technical, not this definition today. That's crap. That's real racism.
And those were Democrats.
And those slaves that were free. And the South at the time didn't want to give them their freedom truly, so they found subversion. They subverted their vote. They took away their freedoms in other ways. They said equal, separate but equal. I mean, they just find all kinds of ways to keep the power in their back pocket, and it's disgusting. But let me tell you something: if this is what's going on right now in this voting system, all of us are slaves. Because our votes were discounted because of the person that we voted.
You are nothing but a battery for the system.
Mm-hmm.
You're nothing but a battery. You're just an ever-ready copper top. It's just like the Matrix. Everything that you see is an illusion, and everything behind the scenes is the real game. Okay, and unfortunately, we're caught in a game, and it's not a game that you or I or anybody else that average people can get out of. The best that we can hope for as normal, regular people is to live a good life, leave something good for our kids, and after we kick the bucket, have somebody say, hey, that person was a really good person. He really did some neat things for people. Really nice person. He was harmless. He stood up for what was right. He was a good person. That's the best we can hope for. Okay? That's all we want. And they're making it really hard, isn't it? Aren't they?
Mm.
It's really a terrible thing. Just terrible what's going on now. I can't even stand it anymore. It's really interesting that you bring up the 3/5 of a person discussion. There's a lady that I work with, and she's just a great gal. She's a little bit older than us. She's had quite the life. She's got a master's degree. She's quite brilliant. She happens to be a person of color. And she's funny, and she's super smart, and I really truly enjoy her company. We were having a conversation the other day, and she was a history teacher at one point in her career, and she says something along the lines of, "I cannot understand why black people today would vote for a Democrat, because to a Democrat, you're nothing. You're not even a person. You're 3/5 of a person."
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, whoa, okay, tell me more. And she went on and on and on, and it's pretty amazing. And I can't believe certain people still fall for this crap, and they buy it hook, line, and sinker. It's unfortunate, and it's just a systemic, generational problem that we have in this country. People just cannot break free to start thinking for themselves. And the problem that people have with Donald Trump is he was a free thinker. He's going to do his own thing. Nobody controlled him. He marched to the beat of his own drummer. And I got news for you. Everyone says, oh, he was this, he was that, he was bad, he's all this. I've never known a president to follow the Constitution quite like him.
Mm-hmm.
He kept it right between the lines. He didn't do anything crazy.
Mm-hmm.
It's insanity what's going on. Anyhow, I've ranted enough. But 3/5 of a person, that was a real interesting discussion that her and I had, and I'm blessed to know her. She's quite a gal.
Wow,
a lot of fun. She's just super smart. I enjoy her very, very much. We laugh together quite a lot. She's a great gal.
That's great.
She's awesome.
So yeah, and that was something else that I was picked up on from some reading that I was doing from the Epoch Times, and just very amazing. It's an amazing discussion. One last thing I wanted to, today during a Senate hearing about the voter fraud, which I think is an important step to get the special counsel assigned, because I think this was perfect to do this. When you have the past DHS person that swore up and down that the election was secure and fair. Yeah, my rear end it was.
Yeah, right after a giant hack.
Right. It was hackable. It was, it was totally full of back doors and manipulated. And, statistics don't lie. I'm not even close to being a statistician. But when anyone just looks at these spikes, when you have a straight line going up and not a curve of data coming in, it's wrong. It's an anomaly, and these anomalies are they have to call them that, but they're really cheating sessions. When you stop the count and you say there's a water main break, and everyone runs out of they push everyone out saying get out, get out, get out. And then they start pulling ballots out from under the table, and they're saying, well, there weren't suitcases, there were official ballots, and they were there for my rear end. They're actually showing evidence to show that they were printed in China and brought over, and then they were distributed. And that's where that trailer that the driver had stolen from him when he left it in the parking lot. The male truck driver, he basically, no one's listening to him, and the government's not paying attention, doing their job either. But today they had a hearing, and it went reasonably well. It gets the information out there, and you have Ron Johnson was called a liar by the Michigan Senator Johnson, and you see on the screen here, for those who can't see it, this is the person that swore up and down that there was nothing wrong with this election. So again, they're trying to tell you a story. It's not the story. So this is definitely shake your head and say, duh. Who knows? It's crazy. We live in. I don't want to live in interesting times. I want to live in a time when things are the way they're supposed to be, and they're not being perverted for someone's power hungry needs and command over my life. And that's really what it comes down to.
Well, may you live in interesting times is an ancient Chinese curse.
They can have it back.
Exactly. That's all I'm saying. They can have a lot of stuff back.
You got a lot of land mass. You got 1 billion people over there. Go back and stop trying to dominate the world. Go away. That's what I have to say about it. Not that they're going to listen to me.
They ruin their own country. Now it's time for them to move forward and ruin everybody else. I mean, enough. Right? I don't need any more rubber dog crap from China. I don't want to buy anything from China anymore. Mm-hmm. I don't want to see anything more from China. We should. Trump was absolutely right. These people are horrible, and he knew all along. That's why he sanctioned the crap out of them, and he imposed the sanctions on him and the tariffs on them that he did, because he knew what they were up to the whole time.
Yep.
And he was getting the better of them. So what better way to get back at us? Collude with the Democrats and release a virus. And we got to, we spent so much money, and we've invested all this money in these Democrats.
Mm-hmm.
And look what this guy just did. Holy crap. I know what we can do. Hold my sake or hold my beer. I got this. And they released the Wuhan flu. It turns this country upside down. You got the willing Democrats and the globalists trying to tear us apart, make us tear ourselves apart. And it's working. Mm-hmm. And it's really the scary part, isn't it?
Yeah.
Good God.
Yeah.
It's enough. People are starting to stand up.
Mm-hmm.
And it's time for a little bit of civil disobedience.
Mm-hmm. There was you can find it online on Rumble. There was a store owner in California, and the health department is jerking him around, saying that he has to close.
Uh-huh.
Basically said he violated a whole bunch of stuff, and he wanted his tables outside. He was protesting, and they said he had to close down. And it's a video basically showing how he's having everything taken away from him, his livelihood, his ability. And I'm going to throw this out there, and if anyone's listening, and we have passed this around, Alpha, do you want to take a guess at what the percentage is of spread of this Wuhan virus BS when you're in a restaurant? You want to just take a guess?
Like less than 0.01%?
Nah, a little.
Like
It's
that?
1.4%. 1.4% spread. This virus spreads when people are in close contact more than 2 hours for a longer period of time. That's when it spreads. So family members, gatherings. Yes, I know the social distancing thing. I'm tired of saying it. It has more detrimental effect. But if you're not around someone or in their space where they can pass this on to you, you're not going to get it. Now, having a mask on has been shown not to do anything except cause worse problems with oral hygiene. We went through this last show. But restaurants, and if you think about it, I've heard this described by many people that we listen to, Dan Bongino, everyone else. You think the virus is smart enough to know that you're in a restaurant and the waitress or the waiter bringing stuff over to you that has a mask on and you don't have a mask on, it's not going to go into you there, but it's going to go, if you're in a small store or if you're in a big box store.
False premise. It's all a false premise because the masks don't work.
Masks don't work.
Okay, enough. We've beaten that up, and everybody that's listening to us, we're talking into an echo chamber. Okay, first of all, masks don't work. They don't work.
Mm-hmm.
The piece of T-shirt you're wearing across your face doesn't stop diddly.
Mm-hmm.
If you can smell yourself pooping in the mask, it's not going to stop anything. Period. Right. If it fogs your glasses up when you're wearing glasses, it's not stopping anything.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? So everybody just needs to stop. We follow the science. No, you don't. You follow the narrative. Stop it.
I wish they would follow the science. Honestly,
I do too, and they're not going to because it doesn't suit their purposes, right?
Right.
So look, on a brighter note, this war has to end sometime, right?
Yep.
It's got to stop. We're rapidly approaching people's limit of tolerance. I know that this whole thing has screwed my life up completely.
Mm-hmm.
It screwed everybody's business up. People are really sick and tired of it.
Yep.
And at what point do people just stand up and say enough is enough? No more of this shit. It's enough.
They are doing it. The problem is that when you have everything against you and it's not, the message is not getting out there, or the message they want you to hear is getting out there, then you unfortunately you lose out, because you're like you mentioned, an echo chamber. We know people are listening to us. We get comments that they want to hear what we have to say, and we're honored for people to want to hear us. And it may feel that a lot of us don't have anything to do, but we do. We can write letters to our representatives. They know when they get slammed with mail, and you're not in there. They think that once this voting thing gets resolved and we go back to paper again, which I think is a must. I think you're going to see, a big change, and it just has to fester, and we have to have faith that it's going to do what it's supposed to do. That all things are going to work out in the end.
Well, I hope so. Well, listen, we're coming up on the hour. It's a midweek show. Everybody's got, we're hump day's over. Now we're in the home stretch to the weekend, and then we're in short final to the holidays. Don't go see your kids. It would be a bad idea.
Baloney. Go see your kids.
Because COVID.
Go see your kids. Be with your family.
Go do what you want to do.
Yep.
Yeah. Look, let's just put it to you this way. The CDC numbers came out on death rate. We're lagging behind last year. We're just not dying fast enough from this devastating Wuhan flu.
Mm.
Okay. So it's all a load of crap. It's a load of crap. Kidney disease and COVID. Okay. Awesome. Anyhow, moving on. So, you know what? Listen, we're at 54 minutes. We've pretty much beaten the horse. We're gonna see what's gonna happen in the next few days. You got the executive order report from the DNI that should be coming out any day. There's rumors that it could be delayed, but that's probably fake news.
That's fake news. Are you kidding me?
Fake. It's coming out. I think Radcliffe is all over it. That's going to be interesting. We're gonna have to do a whole show to talk about what that really means. I'm not sure what that really means. So you know what? Look, everybody out there, thanks a lot for listening. Bravo, thanks for your time tonight. I know it's the middle of the week, and we wanted to snap something out there for everybody.
Yeah, anytime.
Hey, listen, tough time of year for a lot of folks. Be as generous as you possibly can. Help the people that you think need the help the most directly. Don't rely on a government agency to help anybody. Go out and do a little direct action help. If you find somebody that's truly in need, do the best you can do. That's all we can do as human beings. We're living in tough times. We got to look out for each other because nobody else is going to look out for us. Certainly not the government. So anyhow, thanks a lot to our soldiers, sailors, and airmen out there for protecting us 24/7, 365. And our firemen, tough time of year to be a fireman. Tough time of year to be a police officer too. You see a lot of really bad, disappointing things this time of year. People get, especially this year. I think this year is going to be tough on our first responders. So if you see one and they're out, buy them a cup of coffee. And show them that you care. Put your arm around them if they look like somebody kicked their dog. It's probably because somebody did. Ask them if they want to talk. See how they're doing. Ask them how their day is going. You'd be surprised how far that really does go because. A lot of people are really down on those folks right now, and they shouldn't be. So you know what? Everybody out there, keep the faith. Spend some time with your families. Have a nice meal. Yeah, just don't exceed 150 people in your local grocery store, okay? Wear your T-shirts over your face. Change your face pamper, and everything's going to be just fine. So anyhow, everybody have a great night. Thanks a lot for listening.
Thank you, everyone.
On behalf of the Signal 50 podcast, happy holidays, Merry Christmas, and Happy New Year coming up. A little premature. We'll see you before then, but if you don't listen, have a Happy New Year. Thanks a lot.
Yep. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.